You know, I kind of already missed the studio, Valair.
Was
We are
that?
back for another episode of Pharmaceutical Soccer. We've been recording lots of episodes of Pharmaceutical Soccer here recently, and we're not quite back on our normal schedule. It's a Tuesday, but I am happy to see you. I am so much more well rested than the last time I saw you, Valair. How you feeling? Steven's not well rested at all. Steven has disappeared off the face of the earth.
Yeah, he actually demanded that we only do studios, and he demanded those studios be in Chattanooga. And since we are not in person and not in Chattanooga, he just decided to leave. So he's no longer part of the show.
Yeah, it's real disappointment. As always, if you want to replace Steven, please do so by sending your resume to the Apple reviews on Apple Podcasts. Leave a 5-star review with your resume for how you would be a lot better than Steven, and we will probably replace Steven with you. So please leave a 5-star review. If you leave anything other than a 5-star review, not only will we not hire you, we also won't read the review on air.
Hmm.
So
Also, just don't
please,
do that. Just if you're not gonna do a 5-star, just don't do it.
yeah,
That's where I'm
yeah.
at here. Yeah,
You're either in or you're not,
right.
and we
Everyone.
want everyone in here.
Hey, there you
So
go.
I landed the plane. Well, it's been a week, man. Nashville SC wins its first trophy last week, and then because it's MLS, had a game a few days later in Montreal. We are going to be talking about that Montreal game, but let's be honest, we don't really care that much. You don't really care that much. We're still kind of riding the post title wave here, and we'll see how that wave affected your weekend. Because Valair, it definitely affected mine. How was your weekend?
Yeah, it was really busy actually, between covering the Montreal game, and also we had the foot golf tournament for Kicking It 615. It's a fundraiser that we do every year. If you missed the fundraiser and you do want to help Kicking It 615, or you want to learn more about Kicking It 615, go to kick615.org or at Kicking It 615 on social media. Learn more about how we help kids get access to soccer for free. It's a very important part. I think it plays a very important part in the soccer community in Nashville. So yeah, not that all that said, it was a pretty busy weekend, all things considered. It's been a busy week. I'm also leaving on Friday to go to San Diego for a vacation, so gotta get everything in order. I will tell you this: I'm probably not unpacking and packing again. I kept that suitcase in my room, and I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna refill it as we go. And that was a decision that I'm happy with because I'll leave here in a few days. And so yeah, very busy, but Nashville has a trophy. The interest in this team is as high as ever, which means us in the media, we're out here like doing a lot as well. And there was the trophy presentation, everything like that. So it's really cool. All these things are good things. They're just very busy time. And I'm hoping this San Diego trip can give me some relaxation that I'm looking for. By the way, I won't be here next week.
Uh, for the uninitiated that are maybe tuning into Pharma Soccer for the first time, do you know how busy Valair had to be for the Titans to win a game and him not mention it on how his weekend went? That's how busy things have been.
And win the game in an incredible fashion, by the way. I didn't watch
I
any of
mean,
the game, unfortunately.
it is the most Titans 2025 Titans thing ever to accidentally win a football
I
game.
will
And
say
I don't think there's
this,
any other
even
way
if
of
you're not
phrasing that.
if you're not a Titans fan or even an NFL fan, I suggest that you go watch the highlights of those games, of that game specifically. It is hilarious. The Titans versus Cardinals 2025 in Arizona. Please, wherever time, like even if you're listening to this years from now for some reason, or years from now, somebody stumbles upon this, go watch those highlights. Just the
Um,
funniest thing you'll see.
my wife actually texted me about the Titans winning, which never happens. And she's like, I guess the Titans won. And I was like, basically accidentally. And so I kind of put it in to soccer terms for I was like, imagine Joe Willis making the game saving save right at the end and then turning around and chucking at his own net. That's essentially what how the Titans won.
Yes,
is
yes.
Arizona won the game and then immediately just let the Titans win.
And if Joe Willis was to just try to pass the ball down the field and instead hit straight Jack Mayer in the face, that also
Yeah,
happened in this football game.
that's actually how Everton won on Sunday when Jack Grealish accidentally scored. Uh, so, yeah, it was a great weekend on my end. Similar to you, I never unpacked my suitcase because landed from Austin on Thursday afternoon and then went to Evansville on Friday afternoon to work some volleyball matches and then go to a family reunion and then, of course, take in the West Side Nut Club Fall Festival, the number one 4 years running number one ranked fall festival in America, and it's a great time. Half pot is might be as high as $3 or $4 million this year. It's going to be a big one up there in beautiful Evansville, Indiana. So shout out to the one and only Crescent City. There's no other Crescent Cities. Don't look that up.
If you win
So
it,
that's enough.
if you
What,
win that, will you guarantee studio time for Pharma Soccer every week?
brother? If I win millions of dollars, we will have a pharma complex.
An
It's
actual
not studio
HQ
time.
like
We will have
Austin?
yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. I mean, it's still Nashville, so it'll be in Antioch,
yeah.
but it won't be like
In Johnson City, actually.
yeah. But we'll see what happens on that. I've got my 3 half pot tickets on the fridge. We'll see how if that actually means anything. But moving on from that, let's actually talk about the weekend in soccer terms. It was we'll talk about Montreal in a few, but just generally speaking, like I feel like I had a little bit of FOMO on Sunday from missing out on the trophy presentation. I watched it. I watched the stream of it, but like, what was the vibe? Certainly, there's a lot of times when I think maybe because we've seen so many iterations of this team, we don't realize how much something resonates. And so I think that we definitely felt that in Austin when we were seeing videos from outside Geodis Park of people watching the Open Cup and seeing so many more people there than we expected, and
Mhm.
probably more than the team expected, if we're being really honest. But those photos and videos that I saw from Sunday like blew my mind. I was so surprised, especially considering the Titans were playing at the same time. I was so surprised like how many people made it out there.
Yeah, and to their testament as well, the local channels, the local media was there. Not the soccer, obviously the soccer ones. We were there, but that's not a surprise to anyone. But TV channels, a few of them were there. Radio stations, there were a couple there. So again, that's during a Titans game, which is the most important thing probably to happen in sports that time in Nashville. But it was really encouraging. I was a bit surprised, and I think this alongside the fans that traveled to Austin, or just the vibe around the Open Cup final, what it has been since they made the final. I think it's been a real eye opener for me. I think when we started 615 Soccer, we had a similar experience in that we knew there were a hardcore fan base that would come and support 615 Soccer, for example. We knew there were a hardcore fan base because a lot of them supported Pharma Soccer beforehand, right? And we knew that existed in Nashville. We knew fans showed up. We knew all that. However, we didn't know the level of it. And this was another, and I'm just equating that to us starting our own company versus now Nashville SC doing something that's so big that you get to see really what this market is capable of, what this city is capable of. And look, we've talked about how much Nashville loves a winner, right? These teams don't have rich history, but winning brings people together like they've had a rich history. And let's face, I don't mean that as disrespectful to the people who've been there from day one, even before USL, right? I just mean it's not 100 years old. However, this tournament is 100 years old, and I think fans and media and everybody else in the natural market is starting to realize that. And it's just cool to have that trophy there. The mayor was there at the celebration. A few of the council members were there. Obviously, Nashville SC team members were there, and I thought it was really cool because also Max Eck and Jordan Knight, who had just played in Evansville at 12 o'clock kickoff, drove from
Huntsville.
Huntsville to be to be there and celebrate with the team. And I thought that's a really cool thing. Like they didn't have to do that. And obviously they're not the biggest names on the team sheet, but both of them scored for Huntsville in that game and then drove back, which I thought was really cool.
I got so excited thinking that there was a team in Evansville when you said that, Valair, but
What did I
instead
say?
it was
I said
you said
Evansville. Oh my
they'd
god,
just driven from Evansville.
Huntsville, Huntsville,
Yeah.
Huntsville.
What a dream that would be, a Nashville SC feeder team in
Hey,
Evansville.
what a dream it would be for us to go to Evansville and watch Nashville SC. Oh wait, we have done
Yeah. Yes.
that.
Yeah, quite the different traveling crowd for that game compared to the
Yeah.
traveling crowd in
All four
Austin.
of us were very excited about it. One of us was extremely excited about it. I'll let you know. I'll let you guess who.
Yeah. Yeah, hey, the scarf is still on the wall behind you.
That's right.
Uh, I do one of a few things from that trophy presentation that stuck out to me. Obviously, one of them warmed my heart, which is that John Ingram said that this city has a lot of history in soccer, which I appreciated, that sort of recognition. But I also enjoyed that, with the mayor, Freddie O'Connell, coming out talking about the role that the supporters groups play in the identity of the team. I do think that that's important, and I do think that because of some events that have happened over the years, that gets lost. Some of that gets lost in the fold.
Mhm.
And this was a supporter started podcast. Obviously, Valair is more on the uh, journalist side of things now, but back when this whole thing started, we were all in the supporters groups together, and I think like as this team gets bigger, it's important to remember the role that these groups play. And we certainly saw that in Austin. I mean, that was a lot of that was, put together by people from those sorts of backgrounds. And I mean, Andy Nahar isn't accidentally taking a photo with a La Brigada flag on the field. Like, it's a real big part of it. And I think I appreciated, especially considering where this all started as a supporter created and run soccer club even before the professional days. I appreciated that the mayor saw that and felt it was important to mention as well. And I think that going back to this, like obviously the money is being spent by John Ingram, but the core and the heart of the club lies in the fact that it was created by a bunch of soccer supporters for a bunch of soccer supporters, and in the way that they've operated in the last week, I think is really that has become more apparent maybe this year than it has been in other years. And I'm really proud, as someone who's been around this team for a lot, the way that the team has made sure to highlight not just supporters but support staff and people around. I think that they've done a job in a way that is worthy of praise.
Yeah, and I think that starts, maybe not starts, but that's emphasized by BJ Callahan himself at any given moment. And I'm using BJ Callahan as an example because he's the one we talk to. We don't really talk to Ian Ayre a whole lot. We don't talk to Mike Jacobs a whole lot. We don't talk to John Ingram a whole lot, right? So in many ways, BJ Callahan is the face of this organization, and he seems to be really, allowing Nashville to be part of this and showcasing what this club is capable of. And I think when John Ingram or Ian Ayre or Mike Jacobs or anybody from Nashville SC is reinforcing these messages, it really showcases how they are a united front when it comes to that. And BJ Callahan alluded to that also during the celebration. He had a moment to speak, and I think that's a really strong thing because when there are cracks, when there are some issues, maybe it doesn't show right away, but eventually it will show. And I don't know if everybody at the club is happy and everybody's excited and everybody's going to be here for 100 years. I don't think that's the case. I'm just saying winning doesn't come from just randomly. Winning trophies doesn't just come from nothing. And I think one thing that I really liked about what BJ was saying is that he was very quick to say we're not done yet. He was very quick to say we're still hungry. And yes, those are coach speaks, those are cliches, but Hani said it after the match as well, and every single player echoed it. This is not something where they are they'll celebrate it, they'll be happy with it, but they'll move on. And I think they want more, and I think this city wants more, and I can only imagine what an MLS Cup run would look like in this city, because I've talked about it a lot, and I'm gonna repeat it one more time. The 2017 Preds run to the Stanley Cup final, it turned so many people into Preds fans. It turned so many people into hockey fans. Look, I've been to like one or two hockey games before that my whole life. Now I have three hockey jerseys. I don't I don't know the tactics and technical talk of hockey. I barely watch the Preds now because they suck. But look, what I'm saying is that they built a platform where, because they made one cup run, they were able to sell out Bridgestone Arena for 5-6 years straight, barring the COVID year, of course. So I think Nashville SC are on the verge of doing something like that as well. And how much we talked about the Leagues Cup final being a opportunity loss, this could be the opportunity here. And Open Cup trophy by itself probably isn't enough to move that needle that much. It is a good starter, and we saw that the city came up for it, whether it's politicians, fan, media, whatever. Imagine that for an MLS Cup. I think that would really elevate what this team is and where it stands in this city.
Yeah, I mean, Open Cup final again. It's the hipster. It's the hipster trophy. It's for the soccer folks. The city's happy that they won. Everyone's excited that they won, but it doesn't really mean a whole lot because it doesn't break through the American, sporting idea of what a trophy is, which is, of course, winning the league. And in Nashville, winning the league, it means winning MLS Cup. And if Nashville SC were to win MLS Cup, it wouldn't be a celebration at Geoda's; it would be a parade.
Mhm.
That's the way that this city is going to be.
Down
And
Broadway,
so, yeah, maybe,
please.
but it would be, yeah, but it would be a parade. Like that's what it is, and that's and I think even more so now. Like Nashville was pretty good in 2021. Like I think we mention it on the show a lot, but I think it gets lost in the fold how good they were in 2021. They didn't lose a home game. Like they were really good. Penalty shootout away from playing a team that they played off the field in the conference finals to get to MLS Cup, and that team ended up winning MLS Cup that year. And I mean, there's a lot of ifs in there, but that's how close they were in 2021. And I just think that it's worthy of remembering that. But in 2021, Nashville SC didn't have a home field yet. In they weren't embedded into Nashville the way that they are now, in large part because of things like the stadium, like the Leagues Cup final, like the U.S. Open Cup final. Now that they are embedded and they feel fully part of this community, something like they have primed the pump for a really big celebration if they have a good playoff run. Now, East is a buzzsaw. Like that's a lot to ask, but they've proven that they can beat some of the best teams in this league already this season.
Yeah, and look, I'm not necessarily saying MLS Cup go and get it. That's not as easy, but maybe a run, maybe a little bit of a. They're at least guaranteed one home playoff game, and I think
Yeah.
selling out Geodis Park would be the first mission there. And if they make MLS Cup, chances are they'll host it, because the, barring two or three teams from the West, they can probably host that cup, which is crazy to say. But I do think it's important to say also that time is a big factor of this, and Nashville SC, this is their 6th year in MLS. This is not, this is not a new club anymore. I mean, it's new in the grand scheme of sports because it's not 50 or 100 years old, but it's not new in terms of MLS. There are newer clubs in MLS. And to Clay's point, not only do those wins elevate where Nashville SC sits on the Nashville market, but also just time in itself. How many people now have been season ticket holders for year after year, or maybe some people fell out of love with Nashville SC, right? Maybe it was a bad year or whatever, and now they're getting back in. But overall, going through those experiences has just in itself existing in this market for this long does elevate the level. So if this MLS Cup run happens now versus 2021 or 2020, there's a good chance it's a bigger deal, right? 2020 is a wild one. I don't even know how to evaluate that, honestly. First year in MLS, but
Yeah,
yeah,
2020 is that one just feels, because they made a deep run obviously in 2020 as well, but
Right.
it just feels so disconnected because there's hardly anybody there.
Yeah, and
Like the
and if you
biggest
look
win in
at
2020 was against a Canadian team in Connecticut. So it's like,
right, it made no sense really. And
yeah,
the 2021, Nashville could have had home field advantage if they finished the season just a little bit better because Philly were tied with them in points, I believe, and
yeah.
just ended up hosting the game because of they had more wins. And then 2022 is a really good Western Conference season where one of your players won MVP. So like there has been moments. Obviously, the playoffs was really boring, and Nashville ended up losing to the Galaxy. And then 2023 was, uh, you know,
Mm.
things started going pretty bad. I think at the second half of
Never,
2023.
yeah, never rebounded from losing in the Cup final
Yes,
in
yes.
2023,
But all that
and
said, I think it's a really big positive, obviously, for Nashville to lift this trophy. I was surprised, even as much as I cover soccer every day of my life, and I've lived in this city for 17 years. I was surprised of the turnout and the attention that this got. Pleasantly surprised, I should mention. Really happy with how fans are dedicated and committed to this team, but also how the media is portraying this team. And like I said in the last episode, which I'll plug again, please go watch our last episode. You can watch it, you can listen to it, it's free. Go see it. We were in Austin the day after the final when we recorded that, so it's really, we talk everything about the final and the celebration. So if you're listening to this, go
and
listen to that as well.
and we're not saying that Steven was still drunk on the podcast, but we're also not saying
Yeah, we'd never tested, but
that.
you can tell.
He's in a pretty good mood. Pretty good mood. So yeah, please, if you want more talk about the Open Cup, I promise you, there's all the Open Cup talk you could possibly want on last Thursday's episode. But for now, we return to MLS play, and I said it that way because that's about how excited I am to talk about it. And we'll talk about it after this break. You're listening to Pharma Soccer. Welcome back to Pharmaceutical Soccer. Clay Trainum once again joined by Valair Shabilla. Stephen Robinson is, of course, with Chattanooga as they prepare for their own playoff run. Now, Nashville, well, first off, please check out everything at 615soccer.com. Check out pharmasoccer.com. There's a new shirt on pharmasoccer.com, a very ornate, intricate design to celebrate winning the U.S. Open Cup. So please check it out at pharmasoccer.com. Also, please leave a 5-star review at Farm Soccer on Apple Podcasts. And also, this is me just now realizing that we might have Spotify comments from last episode. So I'm going to check on that just real quick.
Never heard of Spotify. I don't know what you're talking about. No, but
Yeah.
go ahead and rate us wherever you see. And honestly, if you've been listening to this show for a while, or you just started listening to this show or whatever, first of all, thank you for saying that to us when you saw us, whether in Austin or at the trophy celebration. I had a few people come up to me. We appreciate you all. Thank you so much. And then the other thing I'll say is that if you like this show, please consider being a paid member for 615 Soccer, of course, to keep this show going. But also consider interacting with the show on social media, telling a friend about it. Just, we are a smaller show. We are niche in this market of podcasts. So any support that you can think you can give us, we will highly appreciate it. And your support has allowed us to do this type of stuff for 7 years now almost. So thank you.
Hey, and like let's just make it as clear as possible. Your support led to all of us going down to Austin. And
Mhm,
not only that, your support directly launched
mhm.
615soccer.com. That was like, that played an absolute huge role in having an independent soccer media resource as good as 615 Soccer. That was brought on by the people who listen to this show and the people who have supported this show, who have now also become 615 Soccer supporters. So shout out to all of you. This is a subscriber supported, platform and medium. So you guys are just as important as any of us are. So let us know if you're listening. Please leave a review. If you aren't a member, we'd be oh so pleased for you to become a member. But all that said, we can now stop avoiding talking about Nashville playing the most exciting 1-1 draw in club history away to Montreal.
Yeah, it was actually a little more surprising than anything after Montreal scored that first goal. That the game ended 1-1. I was Montreal scored that first goal, and I was immediately like, "Oh, I'm gonna have to watch the rest of this." Like, kind of don't want to, not gonna lie, but kind of committed to doing these player ratings, and obviously I covered the team, so it didn't seem like that many people watched the game who weren't working the game. And I totally understand. Look, if this was a bit more organized and a better organized league and cup, would have these two games reversed in honesty, and have the cup final on a weekend. But it wasn't the case, and Nashville went to Montreal. And look, Nashville did not start the game well. There are a couple of cracks, but I mean, from the 15th minute on, I don't think Montreal was in any threat of scoring again. And sorry, Nashville weren't under threat of conceding a goal again. And then I want to say from like the 50th, 60th minute on, Nashville played really, really well. I mean, it was a one-sided game from pretty much the time the second half started, even before that, even before the in the first half. And I think if you look at the stats, they'll probably tell you the same thing. Nashville outshot Montreal 20-6. Nashville had four big chances to Montreal's one. Nashville had 1.57 xG to Montreal 0.96. So, yes, the stats said that, but also on the pitch, if you just look at it, it looked like it.
I genuinely believe had this been an evening game as originally scheduled, it's probably a comfortable Nashville win. And I don't want that to come off as an excuse, but and I know it does. But I think BJ even mentioned that, like playing the first game after playing in an open after winning the club's first silverware, late at night on a Wednesday night. That's a pretty tight turnaround. I mean, we see that happen in the Premier League all the time.
Mhm.
So like, I feel kind of bad for the situation that they were put into. But that being said, like Nashville was a better team, didn't get the win out of it. There's a goal there for Sam Surge, of course. There was a goal marked off for Montreal, but yeah, I totally. I mean, we joked an awful lot about it on Thursday morning, and all in my head was I could think of was when Everton played Crystal Palace, came from behind to beat Crystal Palace to stay up, and then had to play Arsenal on the weekend, and it was like 5-0 and like
Yeah, yeah.
the easiest Arsenal win in probably 30 years. Like I was like, oh, there's going to be a hangover. And credit where I think partially that's due by Nashville's location in the table, but Nashville, after kind of shaking the cobwebs out, um, really got back down to work as a team that's trying to put itself in the best position to be successful in the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, look, uh, would those 2 points have helped Nashville in the playoffs? Absolutely. Would they have helped them tremendously? I don't know. I mean, honestly, like Clay said earlier, the East is just a crazy, crazy conference at the moment. Those 2 points would have put them on par with Charlotte and New York City, but they would have lost the tiebreaker to Charlotte because they have one fewer wins, and that's the first tiebreaker in MLS is wins. So then they would have been fifth instead of sixth. I don't I don't know if that makes a whole lot of difference, in all honesty. I know currently as things stand, I believe Nashville gets Miami. However, Nashville plays Miami, so who knows what's gonna happen there. Orlando still has a game in hand on Nashville, but they'll be playing Vancouver during the international break. Miami's playing Atlanta during the international break. There's just a lot of movement in the table, and I just don't think those 2 points are going to be that huge. Maybe they will, maybe they won't. I don't know. To me, it seems like Nashville were the clear bit better team in Montreal. If that game goes on for maybe 10, 15 minutes more, I am certain Nashville will get the winner. And it was just a matter of it didn't kick on until a little bit later for Nashville. And yes, you probably want to be as a fan or as somebody who cares about the team. Yes, you definitely want to win that. But in the grand scheme of things, no one's gonna remember this game, and everybody's gonna remember Wednesday night beforehand. So that's
Yeah,
probably enough about the Montreal game. That's probably more than anybody has ever spoken about that game.
the real concern is whether or not Nashville avoids the play-in.
Right.
And Nashville will be playing Inter Miami. The lowest that Nashville can finish is 8th, which will put them in the play-in. Chicago is playing New England. So that is a concern. Orlando has 2 games left as opposed to just one. Um, Columbus can't get past Nashville on the tiebreak. So Nashville's the lowest they can be is 8th. So a play-in would not be great for
Yeah.
Nashville. But
Especially against Columbus, most likely. Yeah.
right. And so I don't necessarily like that part of it, but also how many times over the years has a team that's gotten an extra game in the playoffs been a little bit sharper?
Hmm.
And I think we've seen that a lot. That's actually part of the reason why the first round of MLS is a best of 3 is to try to avoid those like little one-offs. Um, I don't if Nashville ends up having to play a playing game, I think Nashville just kind of dusts itself off and says, "All right, that's fine." Because to keep in mind, Nashville just won a single elimination tournament in MLS that featured the best team in the league this year. So who's to say that setup doesn't suit them?
And I know we have one more episode before the Miami game, but that's not a foregone conclusion. I mean, Miami is
Right?
a great team. It's an amazing team, and they have Messi.
Yeah.
I know that. But Nashville have played well throughout this season. Nashville has the capability of beating Miami, even with Messi. I know that's an insane thing to say. I'm not saying it's going to happen. I'm just saying that's not like out of the ordinary for Nashville to get a point or 3 points from Miami at home. We know the Nashville fans will be up for it. They've been up for it every time Messi has come to town. So I'm not, I wouldn't consider that a foregone conclusion. Now Miami does have Atlanta, who in any circumstances you would say the third best team is playing the 14th best team. They should be able to take care of business. But for some reason, Atlanta does have a voodoo on Miami, so we'll see what happens there. And those games, the makeup games for Orlando and Miami, they're happening this weekend. So MLS does have few games going on during the international break. So by the end of this weekend, we'll have a better idea of what Nashville needs and what Nashville, where Nashville will stand. I think regardless of where Nashville is, they're expected to give a really, really good fight to any of those teams, whether it's Cincinnati, who, yes, Nashville struggled against, but played really well, I would say. Philadelphia, who Nashville has beaten 3 times. Inter Miami would be a spectacle more than anything, but I trust Nashville to manage that sort of event. Charlotte is the one that I would say Charlotte and NYCFC. I'm a little less confident in Nashville just because I feel like their home field advantage for different reasons have gone into Nashville in the past. So I'm a little less confident in those. But honestly, it's crazy. But the top 3, I think Nashville has a better chance against. Is
I
that
I
crazy to
think
say? I don't know. Does that?
I don't know. I think it's interesting. If Nashville had to play teams from like 10 to 14 in the playoffs, I would be a little bit more worried about Nashville. But since they're playing playoff teams, I feel a little more confident in them. But which is, I mean, I think a lot of fans feel that way about their teams. But I will say this: there is no reason to look at the East in the way that it is, the way that it's been this year, and the teams that Nashville has beaten this year, and think that they are anything other than having a boxer's chance against all of them.
Yeah.
Like it is easy to sit here and say, like, well, they're going to finish in the bottom half of the table. Well, New York City finished in the bottom half of the table when they won MLS Cup. And the difference in a normal year from the bottom, or not bottom half of the table, bottom half of the playoffs, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But the difference between like this year and a normal year is that there's so little space between the ninth team in the playoffs and the first team because the East is such a buzzsaw. I'll tell you right now, you know, Philly's the number 1 seed. If Philly's got to play Columbus in that first round, they're not very excited about it.
Yeah.
And if they got to play Nashville in that first round, I guarantee they're not very excited
Based
about
on
it.
history. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but it's one of those things where it is genuinely, the West is a different story. But the East, I think you can make an argument that any one of basically 8 of these 9 teams has a genuine shot at coming out of the East. Shout out to Chicago for being the one team I don't really believe in.
Yeah, but they beat Miami 5-3 away. So, you know,
Yeah, I know.
so
I
there's
know.
that too. I will say, but then they went around, drew Toronto 2-2 at home. So
They did also give up 7 goals to Nashville.
yeah, I don't know. I'm not gonna talk about. I think the last thing I just want to clarify here is that Nashville still has an opportunity to finish in the top four, which will guarantee 2 games at home in the first round instead of one. And so, if 2 games are needed, um, it will require a little bit of workaround. It's not gonna be easy for Nashville to do that, but it's possible. They will need to beat Miami at home. That's the first step, first and foremost. So if they beat Miami at home, the other two things are a little bit more likely. Charlotte goes to Philly, and NYCFC goes to Seattle. Sorry, hosts Seattle. So those two teams will have to drop points, and Nashville will have to win against Miami for Nashville to finish fourth. And then obviously there's the Orlando factor, which we'll know more as they play their makeup game against Vancouver.
And we'll talk more about decision day next week, but I will say this, I think that there is a huge mental reason to go after Miami and try and get over that hump because Miami has kind of had Nashville's number the last few years. Despite playing well in genuinely almost every Miami game, Nashville has not been able to get a win out of any of them. And so, which is a stark change from, you know, the way it was when it seemed like Nashville always had Miami's number.
It's
So,
also a really good playoff preview. I mean, that game
yeah,
is going to be as
absolutely.
intense as any playoff game you'll come up against.
Whether Messi plays or not,
Yeah,
I mean, it's still a good team. So, and a chance to play in front of your fans for potentially the last time this season. Or I guess if
yeah.
they're the 8th seed, they would play
Well,
a home game. But
uh,
Nashville's guaranteed a home game no matter what.
also there might be a golden boot race going on in that game. So
Absolutely.
there are a lot of reasons why this last game is going to be important. I don't yeah, I don't think that's the reason I don't think it's going to be easy or a foregone conclusion for either team because there's a lot
Yeah.
to play for still.
Sam Surge hat trick to win the Golden Boot
That's
on the
crazy.
last game of the season. Let's do it. But we'll talk more about that next week. We do have some other playoff action to talk about. And I mentioned it earlier. MLS Next Pro playoffs have been set, and Nashville's feeder team, Huntsville City, is in the playoffs as the 5th seed. We don't know who they're playing yet because MLS Next Pro has a pick your opponent setup. So we will know on Thursday who has picked Huntsville to be their opponent. If it works out that way, maybe one of the top 4 picks a team, in the top 4. Who knows?
That would be insane. But congrats to Huntsville for making it in their first ever playoff in the club history. There's been a lot of outstanding performances from players who have now had minutes and opportunities with Nashville SC. I think that's really important to say. There's it's not as constant of one player doing well. There have been players who have been consistently good for Huntsville, but come these things kind of come in and out as there are injuries, players get called up to Nashville, whatever it may be. And I just think it's a huge testament to this project, Nashville C 2.0. There you go, I said it. But this is all part of it. This is all part of it. Making the playoffs might not be like the most important thing in the club, but it sure helps. It helps to give these players a experience, but also helps with the city of Huntsville in itself to rally around this team, and support them in this big run coming up.
I think it's winning is secondary, tertiary, even to everything in Huntsville. The job is not to win. But something that BJ Callahan has repeated kind of at length over the course of the last year and a half is building a culture. And building a culture involves building excellence. And that means being successful where you are, whether that's being successful on the bench and challenging for minutes in the first team, whether that's being successful in the first team and keeping someone on the bench, whether that's being in Huntsville and only able to control what's in front of you, which is trying to do your best get wins, get results, develop as a player. So Huntsville getting to the playoffs, even though it's not that important in terms of how it affects Nashville, it is, you are demanding excellence from wherever you are. And that only helps you as a player. Even if you're a 17-year-old playing in Huntsville, it now means you have more games to play this season that can get more minutes kind of in your boots that may help you challenge in the preseason when it comes around to that. So it's not on the surface that important, but when you take in the grand scheme of things, it's another opportunity to push yourself ahead. And I think that that's the most important part about a team like making the playoffs in Huntsville. Also, they could potentially play Chattanooga, and who doesn't want to beat Chattanooga?
Steven wants to win as a Chattanooga player and fan and all
Exactly.
that. Yeah, yeah. Aside from Huntsville, there are 6 Nashville SC players involved in international duty. Chris Applewhite is in training with the U19s, second time being called with them and getting that experience, which is really good for him. Obviously, that's a Nashville homegrown. That's an academy product. So, and look, these things are important for players. These things go on the resume of players. He's obviously gotten MLS minutes. He's gotten Open Cup minutes this season and gotten a lot of minutes with Huntsville as well. Yeah, he's still a young guy. A lot to come from him. And maybe center back continues to be a strong position for Nashville SC based on his. And I'll tell you this, everything I've heard about him and just seeing him play, he does not look his age. He doesn't feel like he's an 18-year-old kid. He feels very confident and very secure. And yeah, I'm excited to see him. I think out of the 3 Nashville homegrowns, he's definitely made the most progress. That doesn't mean the others are gone or they can't make it back or anything like that. It just means that he has earned that right with BJ Callahan. So shout out to Applewhite. There are 4 other players called in for friendlies. So Jacob Schaffelberg is with Canada, Andy Nahar with Honduras, Patrick Yazbek with Australia. Australia's games are in the U.S., so Yazbek doesn't have to travel as much as last time. So that's really good for Nashville. Xavier Valdez does have to travel a good amount to play with the Dominican Republic team, but obviously he's not going to be as involved with Nashville as he is with Huntsville. So those 4 players will be in friendlies, and then the big one here in this international duty is Matthew Corcoran, who is with the USMNT U20 teams in the World Cup in Chile. The U20 World Cup, the US has shocked many people by leading their group, a group where France finished third because youth soccer doesn't make sense. And in all 3 games so far, Corcoran has featured. He has started one of those 3 games and even have 2 assists to his name. So the U.S. will have to play Italy coming up in the round of 16, and U.S. already beat France again, so they have a good chance. It's not like the the senior team. You know, these teams. There's a lot more fluidity there, and Corcoran is getting really good experience probably being there and experiencing that. And look, it's a really good thing for the U.S. to have a strong U20 World Cup because it only helps the next generation coming up.
So, just on that point, when we talk about a lot of people, a lot of words were written about 2018 and the US missing the World Cup. The real reason, like the real underlying reason that the US was so bad in 2018 and missed the World Cup is that they had a lost generation of youth players.
Mhm.
They had youth players not going to the U20 World Cup, not qualifying for the Olympics. They missed Olympics back to back years as a U23 team. And so the end result of having unsuccessful youth teams is naturally senior players not getting replaced.
Right.
And so a lot of words were written about Michael Bradley and Josie Altidore, and we don't need to go over that. But the core underlying problem there is that they weren't replaced and they were relied on too late, and that caused a problem. So it's very important that the U.S. makes these cup runs because that pays off 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 years down the road. And maybe Corcoran will be playing in the World Cup in a few years. That's not next year's World Cup. You
Well,
know what I mean?
yeah.
The one after it. But like this is that's what's really on the line here is replacing those national teamers who are starting to age out.
Yeah, and these
And
are definitely generational, right? Like when you mentioned missing
mhm,
the Olympics two times in a row, that's 8 years. So that's a whole
yeah,
generation, a lost generation of U.S. soccer players, right? So yeah, these things are generational, and I don't know, I don't know if Corcoran's career is going to take him where he wants to go, but it's a really really positive thing for Nashville SC to have players like Corcoran, young players who are able to come in and
and
give you
Applewhite
2 minutes. What's that?
and Applewhite.
And Applewood, of course. Yeah, yeah, both of them who are able to play at national level really young because that kind of adds the character to the team. I will also want to mention that the Nashville SC Academy U15 head coach, Jason Batty, is also there with the U20s in Chile as an assistant coach. So maybe that's a little bit of a testament to the organization as a whole, not just the players. But I think people within U.S. soccer are starting to realize the good things happening at Nashville SC, whether it's player development or just overall in terms of a club uh, developing.
Yeah, and to bring it back towards the club just a little bit, I think it's also worth noting that there are a lot of national team players that went on to have very successful careers that were launched at Youth World Cups. Landon Donovan, I think he got the Golden Ball at a Youth World Cup. He
Yeah,
ended up going to Germany. It didn't quite work out for him in Germany, but obviously everyone knows who Landon Donovan is. But a Demarcus Beasley was on that team as
you're missing
well.
a big name,
Am I?
Freddie Adu.
Well, Freddie Adu didn't quite Freddie,
He did really well in some tournament in Norway, and
but the funniest thing about Freddie Adu is that he was on back-to-back Olympic qualifying rosters,
yeah.
which is like it's a testament. He was a good player. He just never quite took the next step. But it is wild to see someone make back-to-back U23
And if I
rosters.
can make a recommendation real quick, if you're a new soccer fan or you're a huge soccer fan and haven't listened to Grant Wall, the great late Grant Wall, I think it's called American Prodigy podcast series. He did a whole series on Freddie Adu. It's like 6 or 7 episodes. I know this is way out of the rundown, but Grant Wall is just incredible in his storytelling, and Freddie Adu is his story is so insane. Highly recommend you go watch that or listen to that. Sorry. And if I listened to it on a long drive, and it was amazing. I was invested in every episode.
Yeah. So moving on from kids who probably aren't going to college to kids who are definitely in college. We haven't done this in a little while. We just want to do a real quick local soccer roundup. Obviously, I work at a university. I worked in college sports for a very long time. I view college soccer as exceptionally important to the game, maybe at a time when other people don't. And so I just wanted to mention that while Nashville's season is winding down, there are some other seasons that are also winding down that are, kind of in the most important parts of the year, both on the men's and women's side. Now, in Nashville specifically, there are two local men's teams. Uh, Unfortunately, Lipscomb, which has been kind of the standard bearer for Nashville college men's soccer, is not quite having the season they would like, but they do have some games left this year. So I do recommend shouting them out. They're 1-6-3 on the year. But who is having a great season? And that is Belmont. Belmont doesn't exactly have a ton of soccer history on the men's side. They are currently unbeaten. They are 6-0-4, and they got a big test actually tonight as we're recording. They're playing against Louisville at Louisville. We'll see what happens there. And then on the women's side, there are a few good teams going. First off, Lipscomb is having a pretty good year on the women's side. They're 5-0 in conference play, 9-3-1 overall. This week, they're playing two matches, one on Thursday against North Alabama, one on Sunday against University of Central Arkansas. Hey, by the way, Valair, do you know what the women's teams at the University of Central Arkansas are called?
Uh, yeah, I think I covered one of their games for the men's. Hold on. Uh, no, I forgot. What is it?
The men are the Bears.
Okay.
The women's team are the Sugar Bears. I'm not making that up. That is their official team name for the University of Central Arkansas. So if you can on Sunday, make it out there. I believe it is senior day for Lipscomb. They have a great soccer facility, a genuinely great college mid-major college soccer facility for Lipscomb versus the Sugar Bears of Central Arkansas. Belmont is 3-3-6 on the year. They are away to the University of Evansville. We're mentioning Evansville in every segment this week, and that's where Lipscomb is this week. Then Vandy, of course, has been the big one on the women's side for Nashville this year. They're 9-3-1. They're playing Friday against Mizzou at home. I do recommend going and seeing them. They're usually really good, Vandy. And then MTSU is 7-4-3 this year. They're playing Sunday against FIU. So lots of chances to watch women's soccer. And then just to shout out NAIA a little bit because I come from an NAIA background. My wife was an NAIA college soccer player. Cumberland has two teams ranked in the top 15 in the country. The men are 9-1-2, and the women are 8-2-1. So please keep an eye on Cumberland, and that's our guy Scotty Davidson coaching out there. So shout out to Cumberland. That is your local college soccer roundup.
Thank you, Clay. And shout out to all the local soccer that's going on at a grassroots level. USL League Two. Um, I hope at one point in Nashville or Middle Tennessee area we can support a USL League One or a USL Championship team. In one of these nearby markets, I think that would be really good and healthy for the sport. And I hope we'll see more of that. But we do have a third division team in Huntsville. There's some in Louisville for second division. Memphis, it's resurfacing that they might have a team. We'll see. And then, of course,
You
Knoxville
know,
and Chattanooga both have USL League One teams. So
it's worth noting. It's worth noting that the U.S. Open Cup was only the second national soccer trophy that came to this area this year, because Tennessee Tempo won the UPSL, so
right.
down here in Murfreesboro.
So shout out to the
So
Tennessee Tempo as well.
we got to see how much money it would cost to get a Pharma Soccer branded kit on one of these lower league teams.
You know, I never say this, so don't listen to me, but that's a terrible waste of money. But um but yeah, go support local soccer though. And if you want
As you
your
said,
logo on a kit, make it the Kicking a 615 kit by supporting and sponsoring a team because those kids
boo.
deserve the money. Yeah, boo the kids, Clay. I will say go ahead and go to ki615.org, but also go to 615soccer.com, of course, for all your soccer needs. And then for me at Valair Stabila, look, we're doing a lot of work. We have a lot of coverage for this team and for soccer in general. And if you aren't following us, if you aren't sharing, if you aren't liking, this is the time to do it. We appreciate all the support we've gotten, and we think we can do more. So please tell a friend. Tell a friend to follow me. I don't know. I don't have a lot of Instagram followers for some reason, like Twitter and Blue Sky. I'm like good, but then on Instagram for some reason nobody's following me on Instagram. So please go follow me on Instagram. It would make me feel better. It's Valair Shabilla. If you don't know how to spell it, look for the bald guy. There you go.
Yeah, I mean, that does feel hurtful that in the one visual piece of social
Right.
media, they don't follow you.
When
That
we
feels
when
hurtful.
we were on the radio, somebody did tell me I have a face for radio. So there's that as well.
That feels rude.
Yeah,
That
very
feels
much
rude,
so.
especially when Steven's on the show.
Yeah. Hey, he's not on the show right now.
Yeah. Uh, you can follow me at Clay Lassol on Instagram and Twitter. I'm not the most active Instagram user, but if you were on it yesterday, you would have seen a lot of things from the West Side Nut Club Fall Festival. You can follow the West Side Nut Club Fall Festival in
We're not
Evansville, Indiana.
shouting that out. Come on now.
I got nothing to plug. I have nothing else to plug.
All
Please
right.
check out Nashville Soccer Archive. If you have anything that you would like to be documented in the archive, maybe you were in Austin and you found something that you think should be preserved at Vanderbilt, please let me know. We will get that preserved for you. Just reach out to me, and we will be back next week with another episode of Pharma Soccer. Thank you all for listening. It means so much to us. And, this regular season's got one more game left in it, and we'll be talking about it next week.